Long Island is an expansive, densely populated island, with a total population of over 8 million. From the Hamptons to Brooklyn, it's safe to say there's a lot going on here. But it has one main weakness. The only road connection to the outside world sends you straight through the dense traffic of New York City, the biggest city in the country. Most of the time, it's actually quicker than taking a ferry across the Sound. But have you ever thought about why there isn't a bridge across the Sound? It seems like an unbelievable idea that would never happen. But you can make a perfectly good bridge that is under 5 miles, that wouldn't even be in the top 25 for longest bridges in the country. And it's in a place that could really use it. So why hasn't it happened yet? Well, before I answer that question, I wanted to ask if you would please consider subscribing to the channel. We've been doing incredibly well recently thanks to the viewers on this channel that are so nice as to subscribe. If you want to join our new and growing community of geography content, please consider following in their footsteps and hitting that red button below. Thank you very, very much. So I wanted to start by directing your attention to the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway Bridge, clocking in at an insane 24 miles long. This is the longest bridge in the country, located in the southeast portion of Louisiana. Now, having a good bit of knowledge on this topic, it's safe to say New York has better infrastructure than Louisiana, and especially the New York City area. This state has a lot more ability to get a large project like this done. The Brooklyn Bridge was built in 1883. The Williamsburg Bridge was completed in 1903. The Bronx Whitestone Bridge debuted in 1939, and the Holland Tunnel opened to motorists in 1927. The Lake Pontchartrain Causeway opened in 1955. So that brings us back to the question, why hasn't it happened yet? Well, to figure that out, we need to go back into the history of the Long Island Bridge and find out just how long they've been trying to get this done. So it started back in the 1930s, when developers and politicians proposed projects to link Long Island to Westchester County, or somewhere in Connecticut, by going over the Sound. This would specifically help the residents of Long Island to bypass the city. At that time, there really wasn't that many bridges and ways to get off the island, and it would send you right through the busiest parts of New York. Senator Royal Copeland proposed an 18-mile bridge spanning from Orient Point to Groton, Connecticut. This was in 1938, a time where large engineering marvels were being approved all over the country, and it was almost more plausible than it is today. Now, this plan may have worked, but Copeland died later that year, and enthusiasm faded without him pushing it along. This was also near the start of the war, so it wouldn't have gotten done for a while anyways. Next we moved to 1957, when the war was over, and the country was yet again open to the ideas of mega projects like a Long Island Bridge. This time, a two-bridge plan was proposed, with one on the east end of Long Island connecting up to Rhode Island, and another from Port Chester to Oyster Bay in the west part of the island. The governor at the time was not a large supporter of this, and feasibility studies suspiciously showed that traffic volume predictions did not warrant the building of these two bridges, likely meaning the statistics were not entirely honest. Next, we move to 1965 and see the introduction of a figure extremely important in the history of American geography. This man was Robert Moses, a strong advocate of freeways and bridges over public transportation. This time, the main proposal was put forward, an $100 million bridge from Rye to Oyster Bay. This earned the support of Nelson Rockefeller, but it simply wasn't enough to match the shift in values for Americans. Now you had to worry about environmental regulations, which were a major obstacle in the process of infrastructure construction. Moses was popular for most of his career, making strong steps in favor of his ideals. But this project was not popular with the residents of either side of the Sound. Because of this, he lost the support of Nelson Rockefeller, and the project was virtually impossible to complete at that point. After that, they decided the best course of action was go big or go home, proposing a 24.6-mile span from Orient Sound to Watch Hill. This would connect Long Island to Rhode Island, forming a loop. Now, this seemed like one of the most unbelievable plans, but yet again, it was completely possible to complete. If the longest bridge in the US should be anywhere, New York City seems like the place that would make the most sense. The price tag on this proposal was $1.4 billion, an absolutely insane sum of money for that time. It was really just to the point where they couldn't afford it, and had other problems to put their financial efforts into. After reviewing all these former proposals, state planners decided that ferries, though much slower, were preferable to these mega bridges. So that seemed to be the end of it. But the idea of a Long Island Sound link was not over yet, with a new idea gaining traction. This idea was a tunnel under the Sound. This would be much more environmentally friendly, and though it would cost more money, it might be worth it. The first tunnel proposal came in 2008, which is quite an unfortunate time for the proposal. At the start, people thought it was a joke, but the Long Island developer by the name of Vincent Palomeni put forth a very serious tunnel proposal. This massive project would be 18 miles long, from Rye to somewhere in Nashua County. It would be dual tunnels with $25 tolls both ways. Now, if 80,000 people went through the tunnel per day, that would add up to $2 million, with $730 million per year. With the project expected to cost $10 billion, it was entirely possible they could make their money back. Another tunnel proposal was the $31.5 billion one-tube tunnel, with 2 traffic lanes in each direction stacked upon one another. Neither of these proposals got much traction because the country had grown out of these mega projects. So now we return to present day, where there is somehow no connection across the Sound. In a different world, it would have absolutely been built, but it comes down to one major factor, that being the NIMBYs of Long Island. NIMBY meaning not in my backyard. If you are a resident of any town on the island, would you want to see the mega bridge built right next to your waterside mansion? The island would benefit from it, but nobody wanted to be in the town it was actually built in. The 2 towns mentioned the most for building it are Bayville and Oyster Bay. These 2 towns wanted nothing to do with it, because of the environmental impact as well as the increased traffic. If you built a bridge, you'd want it to connect straight up to another expressway, meaning you need to level expensive land in these cities to build a freeway, something nobody wants. You'd be effectively ruining the beauty of your town. And even though everyone on the island would love the convenience of bypassing New York City, none of the towns wanted to be the one that dealt with the consequences. So this led to them just giving up. A tunnel seems like the only real possibility at this point, having much less of an impact. But then it brings you to the price tag, which is just not something New York or Connecticut or any state in the Union would be happy about. Even though the current traffic is not good in any ways, people are used to it at this point. So even if the bridge may help relieve traffic, it is so much easier to just not do anything at all. And that brings us to the final question of the video. Will a Long Island Sound link ever be built? Well, if I had to guess, I would say no. I just think the world has grown out of these types of projects. Building any bridge that long in the United States would be incredibly difficult to do. So they really think they're going to be able to get it done on a rich island, connecting up 2 places that don't want it to be built? Sure, I think it would help traffic in New York City immensely, but I just don't think it's something Long Island would want. So maybe at some point in the future things will change, but for now we're just going to have to deal with the traffic of New York City, or taking a ferry across the Sound. Thanks for watching. Thank you to the members Carport, Dominic Psyche, Jeremy Crone, Rosebud 4, Aaron Washington, and Bryson. All of these people are absolutely amazing and are helping the channel be what it is today. I appreciate all of you so much. If you want to become a member, the join button is right next to the subscribe button, as well as the link in the description that'll bring you straight to the join page. Please consider it because it helps me out a ton. Thank you.